students, and welcome back to the Lore of the Iron Kingdoms with me, Professor Caster. As mentioned in that ginormous two-player box set painting and stat card read and review video I did a few days ago, this is the shorter form of each of those sections. For everybody that did watch the hour, thank you, and for everybody that did not have that type of time, here you go. You can watch it in more bite-sized aspects. But again, if you could, before everything is set, please hit that like button, subscribe, and comment. Please do all those fun things, because that helps the great gods of the YouTube algorithm keep pushing this out to the rest of the folks that might be into the Warmachine and expand our community. Also, again, thank you so much, Steamforge, for sending us this two-player box set for review. And without further ado, let's get to it. Move on. And then we will be moving on to the Black 13th. I believe we are looking at... this will be Watts, the sniper of the bunch. And we're going to be going over each of these guys' individual stat cards as well. I like his pose. I like anybody that has a sniper rifle just because they look super cool. And especially since they set up the models to actually look down the barrel. So there he is with his blue coat. And then, of course, after the black, we did touch up a little bit on the edges so that whenever we went back over with the silver coat, went back over with the highlight coats, it really just made it pop. There he is with his leather. There was a couple leather pieces I missed that we added to once we were doing our finishing coats to kind of make sure we got everything that we added in. Here he is with all of his silver, or all the coppers, his blue stuff on, or his blue spell stuff on his magical stuff, and then for his scope, we just did another set of the blue Signar, just so we had a nice shiny coat on there. Yeah, but he is a fantastic looking model, and I don't know, I just like the way they look. And we did all the hems of the Black 13th in the copper tone, just because it looks kind of copper, so it just made sense to do it that way. Yeah, that's what we did. But let's go over Watts, a member of the Black 13th, so that he is inside a unit, but we're just going to read his abilities real quick. He has Pathfinder, he has Gunfighter, he has Dual Attack, and he has Advanced Deployment. So this guy can shoot outside of melee of himself, which is great. At least I believe that's the right tone. Yeah, I think it is, because it's going the opposite direction of the other one. So because this guy has a Mage Lock rifle, I guess he cannot shoot in melee with himself, which actually kind of makes sense with such a long gun. He has a Speed 6, Mat 6, Rat 7, Defense 15, Armor 12, which means blast damage will do some damage to these guys. So, if you have a lot of blast damage, I recommend you use that with the Black 13th, or pretty much any gun mage, because they all have crazy high defense. He has granted reposition 3, so while he is in play, all the models in his unit gain reposition 3 at the end of their activation. That they did not run or fail a charge, they get to move 3 inches. And then, of course, he has Prowl as well, so if he has concealment, he gains stealth. Pretty simple stuff with this guy. His Mage Lock rifle is a Rat 7, range 14, definitely a sniper rifle. Rate of fire 1, POW 10, magical weapon. And his bullet types on this, or his attack types that he can choose each round, are Black Penny, so this model ignores the targeting and melee defense bonus. Blast, this weapon becomes an AoE 2, POW 12, 6 attack. And then brutal damage on a direct hit. Models hit with this weapon suffer an additional damage die. So, yeah, very, very devastating. But it is a POW 10, so big guys, you still need to get at least a plus, or you still have a -8 on those as well. But it does remove lighter armored models pretty dang easily. And then his melee attack is rifle butt, of course. Because you can see he doesn't really carry a melee weapon. So Mat 6, range 1, POW 6. Definitely want to try to keep this guy out of melee. But at least he has the ability to shoot outside of melee from himself. So he can save himself the trouble with that. But let's move on to the next one. I believe that is Ryan. So there we are, having Ryan with her gray coat. And I like her pose as well. Her hair was kind of finicky to get on just because it was in a 2-piece set. But after you got that on, she was pretty easy to maintain. Here we are with the black coats. And then her black, well, We did her hair afterwards just because I wanted to kind of lighten up some of the tones on that. But yeah, covered in a lot of black cloth or leather or whatever their coats are made out of. I'm never entirely sure what their stuff's made out of. There she is with the blue. It really came in quite good. And with their blue, I actually highlighted them with like a standard blue after painting, or a lighter tone blue, so I can make the cloth pop up a little bit more. And then she is with her gray, or with her, not gray, her leather coats. Of course, as mentioned, I start with a light leather, and then I go over that with a dark leather, depending on where I want it, just so you can make sure they're all clean, fancy looking. Here we are with all of the metals painted, all of the glowy blue stuff's painted, and then we go over everything with a wash just to kind of tie it in with each other. And then of course we paint up the hems of it with a copper paint just to make it look nice. But Ryan is pretty fantastic, as well as every gun mage in Melee is. So let's read over her card real quick. So she has Pathfinder. She has the ability to shoot outside of melee. She has dual attack, and she has advanced deployment. She has a speed 5, mat 6, rat 7, defense 15, armor 12. Granted prey, so she grants the entire unit she's in prey. So at the beginning of, or after deployment, but before their first turn, I get to choose an enemy model / unit that to be this unit's prey, and then that guy or that unit gets a +2 to attack and damage rolls, which kicks everybody's damage and rat up tremendously, which is very unfortunate for my Kodor guys, because they're like, oh, we have heavy armor, and prey kind of nerfs it quite a bit. Then she has prowl, so while she has concealment, she gains stealth. And let's go over her weapons. She has the ability to shoot into melee as well, because those are little handguns, which makes sense that she's able to shoot with those into melee. She has a rat 7, range 10, rate of fire 1, pow 10, or 12 if she's shooting her prey target. The bullet types or attack types she has with this weapon are brutal damage. So on a direct hit, it can gain an additional die on this weapon's attack damage roll against a target directly hit. She has Thunderbolt. Enemy models hit are pushed D3 directly away from the attacking model. On a critical hit, the enemy model becomes knocked down. Then she has Shadowfire. A model hit with this weapon does not block line of sight for 1 round. And then she has Chain Attack, Gun Mage Storm. If this model hits the same model with both its initial attacks with this weapon, center a Cloud Effect template on the model hit. The template is a hazard that remains in play for 1 round. A model entering or ending the activation in the template suffers a POW 12 fire damage roll, which is pretty epic. I appreciate that she can shoot 3 times if she hits the same target twice, which is awesome. But she's actually one of the ones that was critical in killing off killing the solo on the Kodor side, the Jackal, because she made the Warjack invisible, so the Warjack that was blocking line of sight no longer blocked line of sight, and then he just got shot up pretty quickly. So yeah, it was unfortunate for him that he did not survive, but that does happen. That is part of the randomness that is a Warmachine. She has a melee of gun blades. As you can see, she has little blades on the bottom of her guns. It is a mat 6, range 1, pow 8. Not the most, but you know, it does give her 4 attacks in melee, which is still a lot of attacks for a person with that. But at a pow of 10-8 or 12-10, depending on if she's attacking her prey target, that is still a pretty significant amount of attacks to do. So yeah, but yeah, she's pretty OP'd, but I think every gun mage is like that. But blast damage kills these guys just like elves do. So yeah, if you have lots of blasts that do decent amount of damage, or ways to increase the amount of damage or lower armor, you can really remove these guys pretty quick if you pre-prep before you go up against him. But with the 2-player box set, you can't choose the models that you're going up against these guys. So you just kind of have to play it on spells on your spell rack or whatever to keep these guys going. But let's move on to the final of the Black 13th. That being Glover. Here we are, Glover with his I'm trying to get in there with my knife stance. There he is with his gray coat. I like doing the gray coat because it allows me to pick out details that you wouldn't normally see, which does make painting much easier, at least for my style of painting. So, and of course, since I use contrast paints pretty heavily right now, it just makes everything a little easier. Here he is with his black contrast coat. Very nice. A lot of black, of course, with these guys. Then paint up is blue. And again, I am using what art they have on their stuff, so it's very box art-ish. Even though it might not be the same tones as the box art, it is the right color palette. So there you go. And then me trying to figure out how to get this guy to show up. Then we got the leather coats, of course, light leather followed by a dark leather or dark brown leather, to just make it a little bit easier. Also, when you're putting this guy together, make sure you read the instructions, because that little roll on his back, it did cause some issues. I had to pop out some stuff and reset it, and yeah, make sure you pre-plan. Here we are with his finished stuff, with all of his silvers and his coppers and the base done with this little tuft of grass to make it look like a little broken area. But yeah, he was a fun model to paint. And I do all these guys in badge paint, so whenever you're seeing these guys out like that, I literally went through the entire box set with the grayscale, then with the blacks, then with whatever their armor color was, then with the leathers, and I was doing every single one of these guys like all at once with steps. So I just made it way faster. So by the time I got to the end, I could just it was pretty easy. I only had to pull out basically like 1 or 2 colors at a time. So yeah. Anytime you can do that, it's nice. But let's read over Glover's card. So he has Pathfinder. He has the ability to shoot outside of melee. He has dual attack. He has advanced deployment. His special abilities are True Sight, which caused all sorts of problems for the Kodo army. So because the Kodo army all has Prowl, True Sight allows you to ignore stealth. So I'm like, the entirety of the Prowl was kind of wasted on this particular unit. So yeah. So this unit can ignore Prowl with their True Sight. Then, of course, he has Prowl himself, so when he gets concealment, he gains cover. Or he gains stealth, sorry, not cover. His speed is 6, mat 6, rat 7, defense 15, armor 12. His weapons are a dual mage lock. Alright, so with his dual mage lock, I guess he has 2 different columns in there, so he can shoot twice with that gun. It is a rat 7, range 10, rate of fire 2, and POW 10 weapon. He can use this in melee, and it is a magical weapon. His bullet types, or his attack types, are a black penny, allows him to ignore defense buffs. Brutal damage, on a direct hit, he gains an additional die to the weapon's damage roll. And at a POW 10, it's actually very useful to have that. Then he has momentum. A small or medium based model directly hit by this attack is slammed 3 inches directly away. And then the power of the collateral damage is equal to the power of this weapon. In addition to suffering a normal damage roll, a large based model hit by this weapon becomes knocked down. So very much like Razor's slug cannon, but a lot less damage than Razor's slug cannon, but the same effect still causes all sorts of problems. He also has a special attack called Both Barrels. This weapon gains +4 to its damage rolls for this attack. And this weapon cannot make additional ranged attacks with this weapon during its activation, in which it makes a both barrels attack. So it kicks the power of his attack up to a 14, or if he's shooting at his prey target, kicks it up to a 16 with a rate of fire of 9 against a prey target, or a rat of 9 against a prey target. Which, yeah, Jesus, that is a lot of damage. So, and that's just one man of a unit. So, yeah, ranged attacks at that, just terrifying. And then, of course, he has a trench knife that you can see in his model that he's ready to just get all stabby on somebody. So, very useful there. And again, these guys, like, if you keep them out of melee, if you keep moving them around with, like, if you grant with, like, reposition or something like that, like, this unit and any kind of gun mage is just going to wreak havoc on the enemy. So, yeah, the Kodor needs to get into melee, and these guys need to stay out of it as much as they can. So,